Right now, hundreds of families across Louisville are left without any answers. They're still looking for justice for their lost loved ones. Hello, everybody, and thank you for staying up late with us tonight. It's our top story on the WHAS 11 night team. I'm Doug Proffitt. Police officers, the mayor, and his wife joined victims of crime and their families to show solidarity by walking together tonight. WHAS 11 night team's Connor Steffen and photojournalist Aspen Hester take us there.
Taking small steps to help some of the most vulnerable among us.
We are talking about folks who have experienced home invasion by a stranger, carjacking, someone who was at work one day and was held at gunpoint, or domestic violence and sexual assault.
As dozens of people flocked to the waterfront, victims and their families were at the heart of conversation, as well as the specialized LMPD team tasked with helping them.
Certainly what we're hoping to do is empower folks.
Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg shared his own personal story of empowerment in the moments after police say Quintez Brown fired 6 shots at him back on Valentine's Day 2022.
Incredible help that they provided me in that moment of trauma like I had never experienced before.
So we know that when a crime occurs, it can impact all parts of a person's life.
He was like my heart. He was the sun and I'm the moon.
He didn't deserve to die. He was only 24 years old.
Unthinkable grief has struck the Lows before. Back in August, their son and brother Trayvon Lowe died in a shooting.
He was on his way to work, and when he got in his car, that's when they shot him. They shot him 5 times.
It's been a tough situation. If somebody does know something, they really need to speak up because that's my baby brother. He's gone.
The Lows say they utilize LMPD's Victim Services Unit weekly.
And she's really been helpful.
We're really trying to meet victims where they are, to say what are your immediate needs, and as we work through the investigation of your case, what needs might arise.
Experts say the work is now more important than ever before, with the unit having dealt with 6,500 cases last year.
What justice for us means is that we represent people in times when they can't represent themselves. That's not just through the criminal justice system, but that's also understanding that we need to wrap our hands and our arms around them as a community.
LMPD says the number of cases its Victim Services Unit worked on last year jumped 15% from 2022.
And that's what this is about today. It's about recognizing the good work.
As work continues, justice looms for hundreds of families still looking for closure. At Waterfront Park, Connor Steffen, the WHAS 1119, on your side.
Right now, there are still hundreds, if not thousands, of families out there waiting for justice. If you have any information that may be helpful to police detectives, you can call them on the anonymous tip line at 574-LMPD.
We at Louisville Metro government need to invest in our top performers because every one of them has earned it.
Raising the salaries of Metro employees. It was front and center, the major theme of Mayor Craig Greenberg's budget proposal rolled out late today in front of a full house at City Hall. Police, fire, and corrections officials watching it all closely. And ironically, the biggest salary competitor for Metro police officers and EMTs is within Jefferson County, just a few miles outside of downtown Louisville. Places like St. Matthews and Jeffersontown are paying more. $450 million of this new budget would go toward public safety. Our senior reporter, Isaiah Kim Martinez, and photojournalist Elijah McKenzie explain what that means for first responders.
It's an important time for the city's pocketbooks as federal COVID relief funds will soon run out. Louisville's mayor says it's time for a reset in how we spend. But when it comes to pay raises for emergency personnel, he tells us that's a no-brainer.
And my budget includes some of the largest raises for union contract positions in our city's history. They do, yes, that's what.
A sign of approval from some of the top-ranked officials at LMPD, Louisville Fire, and Metro Corrections, as Mayor Craig Greenberg outlined one of his major priorities for this next year's budget, addressing what he calls the urgent need to hire more first responders.
We also need more EMTs to respond to medical urgencies.
Greenberg is pushing for a more than 30% salary increase for Metro EMTs and paramedics over the next 3 years.
We pay our first-year paramedics about $46,000 a year. Fern Creek pays $64,000 a year. Okolona, almost $71,000 a year.
We got Council President Marcus Winkler's reaction afterward.
Is something upwards of a 30% raise over 3 years. Does that sound crazy at all? Or?
Probably it sounds more crazy that we've been underpaying by 30%. Is probably a different way of framing the question. I would be surprised if we're not supportive of that.
Another big ticket item, the mayor's call to invest $32 million to create more affordable housing. A small slice of that, $238,000, will go to improve conditions inside the city's public housing complexes, most notably the Dosker Manor apartments. Pest control, top of mind.
In decaying buildings where they have to deal with mold and bugs and rodents, that is absolutely unacceptable. And I know your calls are now being answered.
Council members will look over the proposal for the next couple months and get public feedback. They're expected to vote on the budget in June. Isaiah Kim Martinez, WHAS 11 Night Team on your side.
The mayor is also proposing to invest $5 million in his universal pre-K plan called Thrive by 5. $50 million would go towards public works recruitment and to complete various Louisville construction projects, including the Louisville Loop, the bicycle path. The mayor is also hoping to invest just over $7 million into the Louisville Park system. And tonight, Metro Council also approved the FOP contract. The mayor's office has said that will help certainly with recruitment and the retention of officers within LMPD right now. The contract focuses on working conditions, job benefits, and pay increases. All LMPD officers are set to receive an immediate 7% pay raise after the contract's passage. Another round of raises will then come soon in July. City leaders are hoping the pay increases will be attractive to recruits as the department competes with surrounding police departments right here in Jefferson County. Well, some good news today. Some hope for Louisville homeowners. The value of many properties in Louisville is rising, but with that also comes some higher property taxes for many. How much you have to pay all depends on how much the property valuation administrator says your house is really worth. Today, the PVA announced the zip codes that would be reassessed this year. It starts in the Germantown neighborhood, stretching to cover the Highlands, St. Matthews, Jeffersontown, Glen Mary, and more. Homeowners we talked with are taking an optimistic view to the potential for property tax increases.
It certainly has gone up a great deal, so I'm happy about that. I can't complain that my value of my house has gone up in the 38 years that I've lived here.
I mean, bagel shops, you name it. You know, everything was in walking distance, and I just don't see how this place will be assessed at a low rate. I think it's only going to go up.
Jefferson County's PVA administrator, Colleen Younger, tells us 97,000 properties are set to be reassessed. By the way, if you feel your property is unfairly assessed or valued incorrectly, Younger encourages you to file an appeal. It is easy to do, and you can find more information on how to do that on our website. Just go to WHAS11.com. A big new development today in the Crystal Rogers case. Attorneys and the prosecutors met this week to discuss trial locations, and they agreed on a location away from Bardstown. According to attorney Ted Levitt, the attorneys agreed to recommend Christian County, Kentucky, and hold the trial in Hopkinsville. That's about 2 hours away from Bardstown and 2.5 hours from Louisville. Levitt is the attorney for Steve Lawson. He says getting away from Louisville and the Lexington news media was a top priority when considering the locations.
That was the primary object of our discussion. It met the criteria of eliminating any media bias. I wanted to go a little further out, consider Paducah, but on the other hand, convenience to Judge Sims was important.
Ultimately, it'll be up to Judge Sims to decide and finalize the location. The judge in the case is going to Hopkinsville to visit before making the final decision. Levitt says out of the many Kentucky courthouses they discussed, this one was the only one that fit the bill. A Kentucky appeals court judge has now denied the request by Zidane Stables for an emergency hearing to allow the trainer Bob Baffert and his trained horse Muth to run in this year's Kentucky Derby. The stables sued Churchill Downs, hoping to block Baffert's ban from the track. However, a Jefferson County judge last week denied the stable's request for an injunction, which Zidane has been appealing. Court of Appeals Judge Jeff Taylor said Zidane's motion for relief was inexplicably delayed, which means it does not constitute an emergency hearing. The appellate court will still hear the case, but time is short for an immediate decision. Eligible Derby horses are required to be stabled at Churchill Downs by Saturday morning. Then the postposition draw is coming up Saturday night at 7 p.m. Today, the U.S. Supreme Court heard claims that Donald Trump is immune from prosecution following his efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election because he's a former president. In the January 6th election interference case, Donald Trump faces 4 felony counts, including conspiracy to defraud the U.S. and obstruction of an official proceeding. Oral arguments lasted almost 3 hours and were based around the question, what counts as an official act as president?
If the president decides that his rival is a corrupt person and he orders the military or orders someone to assassinate him, is that within his official acts that for which he can get immunity?
It would depend on the hypothetical, but we can see that could well be an official act.
As these arguments were happening, the former president himself was sitting in a Manhattan courtroom for his hush money criminal trial. Prosecutors questioned David Pecker today, the former publisher of the National Enquirer, who said that he was the eyes and ears for Trump during the 2016 election. Pecker revealed he was tasked with paying Stormy Daniels to stay quiet about her alleged affair with Trump before he was elected president.